College basketball fans, join the action on the court during the biggest tournament of the year with DraftKings Sportsbook. Turn your team's victory into your own big win. And new customers, you could bet $5 on any team to win and get $200 in free bets. You heard that right. $200 in free bets if the team you pick wins. It's that simple. If they win, you win. And if DraftKings Sportsbook is not available in your state yet, you can still join the college hoops action with DraftKings Pools. Everyone can play for free pools all March long for the shot of a share of over $250,000 in prizes. Simply join a pool and answer questions like who will make it to the next round or who will hit the most three-pointers, then track your results.
Oh no, what have they let us do, Blake? They've brought on me as the host of the Schooner Pod. Bobby is on his honeymoon, and it's just me and you, and we're going to talk a little bit about college basketball today. How does it feel? Just us two in here? I feel a little bit like I could say something bad and just screw things up.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for myself after what's transpired over the last 24 hours. I feel like I need the strict Bobby here to make sure I don't say anything that I regret later. And I know he's probably on his vacation and won't be listening to this and editing it fully. So I feel like I have free reign to say whatever I want right now without Bobby cutting it out.
Okay, please tell me that this is not Bobby right now in the comments with Nick Collison layups.
Oh,
I'm pretty
no!
damn sure that's him. This man is on his honeymoon in the Bahamas right now listening to us live because he's nervous. Obviously, he gives us the keys and we're rooming. We're reading ads this time. We're doing whatever we need to do. I'm taking over for the week. But we're going to talk about college basketball. And since we're an OU podcast, I know you're not an OU fan, Blake, but I feel like we have to talk about what happened with OU basketball in the NIT. And even though it's the NIT and it's not March Madness, they put up a fight and they lost to St. Bonaventure on a very rare Sunday night college basketball game in Norman. And it was really sad, but overall, Eulogy Gibson played amazing. He showed that he's the creator of this basketball team. He's something special the way he played at the end of the season, but didn't get the job done. St. Bonaventure just got really hot from three and just hit more big shots in Oklahoma, taking him down. After watching the way OU ended this season, Blake, and what we saw in the Big 12 tournament, do you think OU deserved a tournament bid over a team like a Wyoming that did not look that good in the play-in game?
See, I don't like to be so hindsight 2020 because Wyoming lost their play-in game. They shouldn't have deserved it, but I do think OU should have been in this tournament, and the team they should have replaced was Notre Dame. I don't understand why Notre Dame was in this tournament. Their resume didn't give credence for them being there, but of course, Notre Dame goes on a little hot run, even looked good against Texas Tech yesterday. They looked fantastic. So it's kind of like TCU and Ohio State. It's TCU should have been over Ohio State in the playoff, but Ohio State won the championship. And it's hard because it's you can't be that hindsight and have credibility. But look, I think OU should have been there. It made no sense. We saw how strong the Big 12 was. We should have had 4 teams in the Sweet 16. This conference is for real. OU deserved their shot. So I think over Notre Dame or Rutgers, those are the 2 teams I'm going to pick on. I wanted Rutgers in there just because they're a fun team, but should have been over Notre Dame for sure.
Yeah, when you come down and look at it, that really made a lot of sense, especially whenever you're talking about Ken Palm. I'm pretty sure after OU beat Missouri State, they moved up to 7th or 28th in the Ken Palm ratings, which is just ridiculous for a team who didn't make the tournament. But after watching that Rutgers Notre Dame playing game, I was like, okay, I feel fine about this. I understand, Wyoming definitely deserved it, and I'm just being salty because I hate that school. But Notre Dame and Rutgers, when they played each other back and forth, it looked like a legitimate game of really good teams. And it was okay. It made me feel a little bit better about OU missing the tournament because you don't know what you're going to get from OU every single night. They don't have some of the creators that Rutgers and Notre Dame have. I just felt like they were much better basketball teams than us, even though we showed a lot throughout the end of the season in terms of growing our offensive ability to create and get shots whenever we were in a really rough stretch in like January and February of trying to create offense.
I agree. It's like OU's OU's whole problem this year was just consistency. It was they really did have the talent to beat good teams. We saw it against Texas Tech. We saw it against Baylor. But you just in a league as hard as the Big 12, you just got to string together more than 4 or 5 wins in the conference in order to make the tournament. Just because that is hard for the committee to stomach. Whenever it's like they look at your conference record, it's like yikes! Like you beat one good team, but like you had a lot of missed opportunities there. So
yeah, it was tough, and there there was a couple things that could have went OU's way at the end of the season, but all in all, it's not like we were going to make a big run. There's a lot of deficiencies in this teams that obviously show their colors in the year of 2022 to where it's like, okay, we missed the tournament. I'm sad about it, but that's more of a selfish thing because I wanted to have a little bit more investment in them come March Madness time. But moving on quickly from that, because, OU basketball is dead and gone and the NIT is not that big of a deal. Kind of looking forward in the future at this team, there's a lot of seniors with a possible year of eligibility left that could come back in that special COVID year. And Moshe Gibson absolutely being the biggest one. The way he's ended this season, to be completely frank with you, I don't see any reason why he should come back. I feel like he is, very small and is a great shooter, and he's gotten hot to where if he wants to go off and play in Europe, he will have money to go play there. If he comes back for another year, this guy's already finished like his master's at OU. I don't know what else he has here for another year of his, education. And it's not going to propel him into the NBA. I just don't think he has the body type nor the play style to succeed in a really physical game in the pros. So I could see him coming back. I don't see why he would. Tanner Groves, I feel like your best chance to make that move because his little brother still has, is a junior and him being a senior. If he has that year of eligibility, I could see him coming back. And then Jordan Goldwire's already said that he's gone and this is his last year. So that's kind of like the autopsy report for OU moving forward. But Blake, what we really want to talk about, obviously, is March Madness. And that's what everyone's talking about right now. And I would hate to continue to talk about it without giving you your little spiel on what happened to the Frogs first. And we'll talk about the rest of the tournament after that. But what happened to the Frogs? What happened with the fans chanting overrated that therefore leaded y'all to have horrible karma for the rest of the game?
Yeah, so I will stand by that. I think Arizona was a little overrated that game. Like they have multiple first round picks on their team, like we're gonna see this year. They have an incredibly talented roster, and honestly was getting bodied by a school that's significantly less talented, not as well coached. Like the advanced analytics backed it up. Jamie Dixon is the worst coach in March Madness this year, and we still brought that performance out. But look, Arizona doesn't deserve crap in this tournament. I didn't realize. I watched them a little bit this year. But didn't get the full extent of them. Like I understood Kirk Ariza is a little annoying on the court, but taking it a little too far after the game by mocking us during our alma mater, have some respect for the gladiator you just fought in overtime when you're a number 1 seed, could have been the number 1 overall seed, and you're already celebrating in the round of 32 like you just won the championship. Like that's not a championship pedigree program in my opinion. Same reason Mark Few, his disciple there, he hasn't won the big one. I don't see Arizona winning the big one with how they were acting last night. They're not mature. I don't want any of those Arizona players on the Thunder. I've already established that. And look, just because fans were chanting that doesn't mean does not make the fact better that we got screwed out of the chance to win the game. Whenever you double team a guy and push him across half court, there's 2 results that can come from that. It's either a backcourt violation or it's a foul. None of them were called yesterday. The clock operator stopped the clock because they thought a foul was going to be called, and nothing happened. And then, like, of course, we got gifted the dunk gone wrong, and at the time it wasn't as bad because I'm like, we still have overtime to win this, but the refs were so bad the entire time that we had, like, our whole starting lineup had 4 fouls, and so we just ended up getting screwed because of that. And it's just like all of our guys fouled out. You can't run with a team that's so talented and deep like Arizona with 5 extra minutes in the game. Like, it's just like we're set up to fail there. So coming from this, like, I'm super proud of how TCU played, and it's one of those. It kind of rivals in my mind. It's like 2014 TCU football. I just feel like those are kind of those two sports moments in my mind that were taken from me by powers that were not on the field. It was not from the results of the team. It was purely by some other entity outside just being incompetent. The college football playoffs and the refs yesterday. And so I just feel like every single sports moment I've had with these great TCU teams has been denied for something just not on the field. Like, I was sad about the Cowboys' loss in the playoffs, but that's because they played like crap that day. I was sad about the Thunder losing to the Heat and the Warriors in the playoffs growing up. But you know what? Like, it's because they played worse than those teams. TCU did not play worse than Arizona yesterday. They should have had the opportunity to go to the line and win that game. And now Arizona moves on, and it sucks. It sucks, but I'm cheering for literally every team against Arizona, just like going forward. Like, I hate Arizona more than probably Duke, San Diego State, like all my rivals combined. Like, I hate this Arizona team. They suck. They're so not disciplined. I don't get it. Like, Arizona's coach over there is consoling Eddie Lampkin at the end of the game. I'm like, go control your jackasses that are running up and down the floor, taunting our fans. Like, actually go be a coach for once, like, you idiot. Like, and so he was doing it. He was trying to get his Coach K moment there. He was trying to get his, like, little camera moment that he's consoling the opposite player. We don't want that. We want you to control your own players. And now I'm cheering for Houston, a Houston team that I hate. I hope Houston goes out there and just out fundamentals them with the most boring basketball on earth. Because this team doesn't deserve a championship. They don't deserve a shot at a championship. They're undisciplined. They suck. And we should have won that game. Like, TCU should have been in the Sweet 16. And, like, that one's going to be a hard pill to swallow, even though we return just about every single player next year.
Yeah, I'll say that Houston game would have been a lot of fun, TCU matching up against them, because Houston was another team that has gotten hot really well, like pretty much handling Illinois in that second half. Kyler Edwards, continues to look good. Taze Moore also playing really well. Fabian White making a lot of big moments for that team. That's a team that I really liked coming into this tournament. As I felt good about them taking down either Chattanooga or Houston, and then putting up an absolute fight versus this Arizona team. I think that that's gonna be a really fun game, obviously for you and your spite, but this Houston team's kind of hitting all the right points at the right time.
This Houston team makes no sense. Going into the AAC championship, they had 0 quad one wins the entire year. Got their first one versus Memphis in the championship. But this is what Houston does. They're fundamentally sound. If they go up against elite teams, they're going to struggle. But we saw against Illinois. Like, I think Illinois is a little undisciplined. They kind of rely on raw talent at times, which I think hurts them. And that is, like, and Houston was able to exploit that. I like the matchup versus Houston there, especially against a very undisciplined team in Arizona. We saw that. Like, I'm glad Kirk Reese is playing because he really keeps his team, or he keeps the other team in games with the dumb shots he takes. So I'm excited. I hope Houston just crushes them. I hope Arizona fans are sad because, look, like, you're not going to get to first round NBA guys probably in the next 5-10 years. Like, this is your only shot, so this is going to really suck if they don't win. Like, it's going to really suck for them because I don't think they're coming back there anytime soon.
Yeah, for sure. We'll continue to talk more about the March Madness after this quick ad break. All right, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Bet $5 on any college hoops team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If they win, you win with promo code TPPN. This week at DraftKings Sportsbook. 21 plus, restrictions apply. See the show notes for details. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537. All right, back from that quick ad read, Blake. obviously the most fun thing, talking about sad moments in March Madness, with your TCU Horned Frogs going down. The most fun moment is my boy Doug in St. Pete coming out 15 seed, pulling, likes of the, Florida Gulf Coast, likes of like the Blow Bob, Oral Roberts, and now facing up against Purdue in the Sweet 16, a matchup that scares the living crap out of me for a team because I want to cheer for them so bad. But can they handle the size and athleticism Purdue? Do we have any sliver of hope to see more Doug? Please, because at least they did it. They did it versus Murray State, right?
The thing that worries me, and I feel like what happened with Blow Bob and Florida Gulf Coast, is like you can get lucky on that weekend because it's like, okay, you blow past, like you get the 2 seed upset, and then probably your Murray State or your San Francisco, if any of their coaches are scouting ahead, they weren't scouting St. Peter's. They were putting all their focus to Kentucky. So they were probably having to scout out that game in 24 hours. Something that's probably pretty hard to do, especially like I don't imagine St. Peter's film. Like where they're filmed, like they probably spent like a few hours trying to locate that. So I think having a week to prepare for a team like St. Pete's like doesn't bode well for them. I don't think Purdue's very good defensively, but like when you have a guy that's like 7'5" in the like center, they haven't played anything like that in the MAC, like the AA MAC. So I think it's gonna go really ugly. And I know St. Pete's coach. I think he is rumored to take the Seton Hall job after this game. World. So he got actually a really good, like if you can get a Power 6 job in college basketball after he wasn't even, I think they were second, maybe or third in their conference, and just from this run, like that's great. But I can't see them getting past Purdue.
Man, I'm worried, like I was talking about the bigs, like Zach Edey going up against them. But if one thing, hey, St. Pete's also has time to scout Purdue. I bet you they weren't scouting Purdue beforehand. They were just worrying about the other team. So they get a full week. And guess what? Every single time Zach Edey gets the ball, he turns over his left shoulder and puts his elbow out every single time. Like, watch it. If you are a guy scouting that, I understand you trying to contest that shot. I'm flopping every single time he turns his shoulder. He does the same move every single time. If you get him in foul trouble and Jaden Ivey tries to play a little too much hero ball, which he can do, and just has a bad night shooting because he's been shooting well this whole year, but like last year, he was not a good shooter. Like this, we are still trying to figure out if this season is a consistent trend for Jaden Ivey moving on into like his professional basketball career. Like, is he going to be a high-end 40%, 38% three-point shooter, or is this just a fluke? So I'm not sold at all that he's going to have a wonderful night shooting. He could absolutely fall out. And if you get hot a couple 3 balls from St. Pete's, you never know. But I'm not feeling the most confident. But that's just my minor scouting report of Purdue.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's so hard to imagine this St. Pete's team in the Elite Eight. It's just so hard. Like, Purdue's still a quality team that has a lot of offensive firepower. You're basically just hoping you go shot to shot, like shot for shot with them, which is like not a good game plan, but that's honestly how like St. Pete's got here in the first place. That's how, like, as a 15 seed, that's how you have to upset teams. So I'm hoping it's a good game. Like, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I do too.
But I can't see a win. I cannot.
Yeah, no, I don't either. We got a line on that. Let's see. Pull up a line for me as we continue to move on. I want to bring up, obviously, the biggest disgusting puke of the Sweet 16 is Iowa State. It's the grossest road, obviously, to the Sweet 16. Them getting matched up with a 6 seed in LSU was already gross to begin with. And then with Wisconsin playing one of the worst games they possibly could have, could not even make anything, turn the ball over like it was nobody's business, played, everything, the whole game bad. And Iowa State only wins that game by 5 and moves on to beat Wisconsin. Like, this team is so gross, but guess what? Then they pull up against a 10 seed now in Miami, who's playing really good basketball. We kind of talked about it on the pod coming in. This Auburn team's good, But I hinted at it. I was like, this team can go cold randomly. They've got some players, but Walker Kessler is not this behemoth of an offensive threat. Jabari Smith can disappear for a little bit, and Miami had too much firepower. How bad is Miami going to work Iowa State?
I want to think they're going to beat them by like 20, but Iowa State seems inevitable this year. It doesn't make sense. This team makes absolutely no sense. They work people in non-conference, get worked in conference, and then now is like gone back to their non-conference form. And like they kind of have that St. Mary's style philosophy where they just try to muck everything up. They like to play slow and just make you turn over the ball, make you make mistakes. And I don't know. It's like 2.5. So I like I would
I'd
like to
slam it.
think I think 2.5. I'm like, I have to lean Miami. Like, just feed the hot hand. This team has the firepower because, like, Iowa State has a very similar identity, I feel like, to TCU this year, where it was like, if you get down by like 8 points, it's like really hard for them to come back. Like, because they require so much time to set up offensive possessions, and Iowa State's kind of that way. But it just feels like Iowa State's inevitable. Like, they're just gonna like be that random Final Four team that you're just like, what the heck? Like, why is this team here? Like the South Carolina with Frank Martin. It's just like, why are you here? Like, you have no reason to be here. And so I'm probably going to stay away. I'm going to stay away.
Really?
I've gotten burned on too many of these games this past weekend of like, it looks so easy that it's on one side. It's just Iowa State's playing some sloppy good basketball. And like that.
It's just sloppy.
It's sloppy, but they make other teams play sloppy too. And like that's how they win. And I just like, you can't prepare for that. You can't prepare for the rock fight that they throw at you. And so
Wisconsin went 2 for 22 from 3. You think that was all because of Iowa State?
No, I think it's like it's definitely defense plus a little luck on the plus a little luck.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Miami is my best bet far and away. 2.5. I love that. It's the last game of the Sweet 16. Is there a game that you're seeing in this slot? I mean, I know it's still Monday with the lines just now coming out, but or just like a matchup that you're feeling pretty good about, maybe more than the confidence of the public.
Yeah, maybe not the pub. Maybe this might be a public favorite. Let me see where it opened. Oh no, actually, no, or yeah, it might be a public pick. I like UCLA over UNC. I thought.
Oh yeah, you do.
UCLA's performance against St. Mary's is impressive by the amount they blew them out because St. Mary's is a team that plays so slow that it's hard to just blow them out like UCLA did. And they really put the tempo on them. They put the pressure on them. And I like that. And what I saw from UNC and Hubert Davis in kind of his first tough coaching moment, I did not like that. Right in front of Roy Williams, blowing the game. I felt like UNC was a little undisciplined, that like guys were getting a little too chippy when they're up by 25. Like the point where they were in the second half, like all they had to do was basically just drain out the shot clock every possession and kind of like just do just enough and they would have won that game, but they allowed Baylor to get back in it. And I hate those undisciplined, like I hate undisciplined teams when it's getting to this point in March Madness because you're going up against the best teams in the nation. Like, although we have those teams like St. Peter's and stuff in the Sweet 16, we have a lot of the best teams here. We still do, even with all the upsets that happened. So I don't like what I got from UNC coming out of the last game. I like UCLA. I think Mick Cronin is a significantly better coach. And just the firepower, it seems like UCLA struggled this year to get everybody on the floor healthy, and they finally have done that. And now they're clicking, and it looks very similar to what we saw last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this UCLA team. The thing is, whenever you succeed in the tournament, you have to have a couple of things. Obviously, you have to have really good coaching because the games are such quick turnarounds that scouting reports and game plans are extremely crucial. Two, you have to have a creator on your team, a guy that can get you shot at any time, and they have two of those. Johnny Juzang, even though he does have his low moments, he can go and get a shot whenever he wants to. Jaime Jaquez can do the same thing. They've got two of those creators. And then just a bonus point for UCLA is they just have a solidified all-around good team, good starting five. And, a lot of those guys that have been there and done that and just got burned last to the Jalen Suggs shot last year. So another thing, there's another bonus. They have a chip on their shoulder from last year because they feel like they got cheated because a guy had a running one-legged shot off the bank. That is, one of the reasons that they didn't move on in the tournament. So I love this UCLA team. I love them versus UNC too, because that UNC, even though they came back in overtime and won that game, it does leave a sour taste in my mouth that they blew a 25-point lead.
Yeah, I don't like that. Do not like poor coaching in March. So I can't back UNC because of that.
Yeah, Friday's got honestly some really good games. Like we're all going to be excited about St. Peter's and Purdue going first on Friday. Then like Kansas Providence after that, which is a sneaky, really good game. I like Providence plus 7.5 in that one. I figure you would too. And then North Carolina, UCLA after that, and then ending with Iowa State, Miami. Honestly, I like that slate a lot better than the Thursday slate. Gonzaga, Arkansas, it'll be a good game. Just doesn't get me up and excited too much. Michigan, Villanova, that's probably the least excited I'm about out of all the games.
And then this is probably my second most excited one. Comes right after that is Duke, Texas Tech.
Oh yeah,
I love that's going to be stylistically a fun one to watch. Duke more of a heady offensive team. Paolo Banchero, that's going to be, and then Texas Tech being just kind of the pinnacle of Big 12 defense that makes games really slow. And I think that's honestly why these Big 12 teams have succeeded a lot, because they've been used to having to really win games by getting good possessions and good shots off. Because in the Big 12, nobody was really running this year. It was rock fights every single possession. You really had to get your sets, choose your shots. And that, I think, bred some really good teams in this tournament. And I think Texas Tech is probably the best of those. They just defend so well. And we talked about, I think, in our preview pod that obviously not as good offensively as some of the past Texas Tech teams, but when they have the best defense in the nation, that will always keep them in games.
Yeah, you'll see, can that defense really show out versus a superstar of college basketball and Paolo Banchero? The Big 12 has, a lot of great teams. But, it's kind of hard to put your finger on a guy with that kind of skill, and is that, big of a superstar in terms of NBA talent. We can talk about what Sochan, is that how you pronounce it, at Baylor?
Yeah.
Getting, top 10 grades, but I don't know how much you buy that. Texas Tech has played a lot of good defense versus a lot of good teams, but they haven't played it versus a one-on-one guy who I can take you, back you down, and just do a turnaround jumper on you and score on you. So in the way that Paolo bullied that last game, whenever they needed a shot and he went and got it and he put his shoulder down, and honestly, he looked dominant and he could get a shot anytime he wants it. So Texas Tech's team defense maybe might not be as good in a situation going against a superstar one-on-one player, but you don't want to put all of your chips in one basket if you're Duke and say, I ride by Paolo, and if we don't, we lose.
Yeah, and I think you bring up just a great point there. It's where we get two of these matchups, these Big 12 ACC matchups, and it's going to be really interesting, especially this Duke one, because it's what the Big 12 hasn't faced is those elite scorers that we don't really have. We have a lot of great teams, but no those true first-round offensive talents in our league, whereas the ACC, I think, has a better offensive league, but they have defensively around there, you're not
atrocious.
Looking at anything good, nothing good. And so they haven't had to play those super physical games. So it's I like these kind of coin flip matchups because they're both teams are having to face something that they haven't seen all year. And that's why I think that one, the Iowa State Miami one, and then Duke Texas Tech are going to breed, I think, two of the better games.
Yeah, that one's going to be, honestly, in terms of just good basketball, I think that Duke Texas Tech game is going to be, the best game.
Yeah.
It's obviously, we're seeing if a guy is going to end up being, some people even talking about Paolo as the 4th pick in the draft now with the way Jaden Ivey's playing, which I think is ridiculous, because I think Paolo is just a guy that, his body type, and whenever he tries to play defense, you can see, okay, this guy could be a Jason Tatum. I hate to make that I feel like it's a little bit lazy. just because of the Duke comparison, their play style. But like Paolo's bigger, but if he can play that play style and take over games, like he can be that kind of player to where he is the main number one option on a team and just can take over.
I agree. Yeah, Jaden Ivey, like guards, you can find good guards every year, but this year the amount of forwards, the versatile forwards that we've seen is something off this chart, like off the charts, and those are players you don't find like every once in a while. A forward that can play, like we have a guy in Chet Holmgren that's over 7 feet and plays like a point guard at times, like with the way he handles the ball and the way he moves, and an elite defender as well. So I agree. Like the forward play this year in college basketball, especially at the top level with Jabari, Paolo, and then Chet, have been fantastic.
Yeah, I agree too. Kind of like ending out this podcast, keeping it around 30 minutes and short. We both picked Gonzaga to win the national championship, kind of chalky with the number one overall seed, but obviously they have all the tools. They did show some things in some weak moments throughout this tournament, and we've seen a lot more basketball from some of the other teams that have made it to the Sweet 16. Are you wavering in your pick of Gonzaga? Do you feel less, more confident, some of the same? Or who would be a team you would consider to say, I bet you they could probably win this national championship?
I'm not wavering too much. Like I think Memphis was a little concerning, but Memphis is like when they kind of were able to put some of the pieces together at the end of the season to really untap their athleticism and just like make it hard for teams. And so I'm not gonna put too much weight into that, but I would say because like I think their Elite Eight matchup's gonna be hard. Like I think either Duke, like they obviously played Duke, lost to them, but I think Duke played a fantastic game. Gonzaga not as much, like kind of blew it towards the end, or like Texas Tech. Like I would definitely want Duke in that matchup. I don't think like Texas Tech just kind of seems like is trap city right there. But I guess like other teams I'm excited about. Like I've been really excited for UCLA out of their bracket. I love the offense.
He's hopping on now. Come on aboard.
I know. Like they finally kind of put everything together, and it's like, okay, this is the team. Last year wasn't a fluke. It's like once these guys get on the court, like they're good. And so I like them. And then I guess like like I don't really like Kansas still. Like they kind of Creighton's a physical team, struggled against them a little bit, but their bracket is just so weak. It's so weak down there. Like probably going to hit either Miami or Ohio State that you've already worked. So like they have a chance, but I pray that Arizona loses. I just want them to lose to Houston, even though I hate Samson and I hate watching Houston basketball. One of my least favorite teams to watch.
Honestly, though, it's honestly a shame. I mean, not for us viewers, but for Gonzaga, just looking at what they have in their division, having to play Arkansas and then either Texas Tech or Duke. And then you go down to the Midwest division and you see Kansas, Providence, Iowa State, Miami. You go to the East division, you see UNC, UCLA, Purdue, St. Pete's. You go to South, you see Arizona, Houston, Michigan, Villanova. And you're just like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, I probably would rather play so many more of those teams than the guys I have to go against. So Gonzaga's definitely got the toughest road now, even though they are the number one overall seed. So we'll see. We'll learn a lot from them. But I agree. I still feel Gonzaga is the best team. And like you said, Memphis just matches up pretty well versus them. You saw Jalen Duren really pound hard on Chet. Really gave him some troubles. But Chet still kind of held his ground, even though he got dominated a lot. He still didn't fold, and that team ended up winning the game, even though there were some kind of bleak moments. But continue to hope for Gonzaga to win this. But there's still a lot of questions. Sweet 16 is going to be a lot of fun. But other than that, you got anything else you want to talk about with the tournament, or one last sad boy frog comment?
Yeah, like today I hit a point where I was like, I'm probably not gonna watch the tournament this year.
Oh,
Like
come
I think
on.
I'm done. But
This is
then
like
I
when
came
Bobby said
around
he was
to
going to quit fantasy football after he got
I
two
know,
punishments in
I
a row.
know. And so then I was like, okay, I gotta come like it's like I'm gonna come around, but it's like it's definitely one of the harder moments because like I've always loved March Madness and part of the reason why is because my team's never really been in it. And so there's no stakes there. I'm just kind of enjoying the madness for what is happening and just enjoying the basketball as like a casual basketball fan, which is kind of like what I do most of the year. Like I watch every TCU game, but I watch a lot of other college basketball just because I like college basketball and I get so much happiness from that. My sadness comes from TCU. And so this kind of like, I hit a point where I was like, I might not want to do this. Like this hurts too much knowing the stakes and knowing what other teams get to enjoy that I was robbed of. But I'll come around. Like I want to see Arizona just fall on their face. And so I'm just like, I'm praying for that to happen. I'm slamming every side. They keep on continuing.
Man.
I'm slamming every single side. So they have to be stopped at all costs. I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of this Arizona team. So yeah, I can't believe we almost won that game. We got robbed. It just hurts.
Man, and that Arizona Houston game is just going to be Slam City because it's going to be at the 9 o'clock game. It's going to be late. Your picks are going to already be in from the past three, and you're going to be like, okay, I feel bad. I feel good. I'm about to unload. Can you imagine if that was the Friday night game? Now, that had been a different story.
I I never suggest your team being the last one to play every single round. It sucks. It sucks. You're just nervous the entire time. You're enjoying the basketball before, but you're like, it's just looming over. You want like a few games under you and be one of the afternoon games. Like, you want to be able to move on because today, like, I felt like crap. I was just like, this sucks. I hate basketball. Like, I had no time to process it. I literally just stayed up all night, just like reading Twitter, like feeding myself all the videos, like
Mhm.
making myself even more angry. It turned from angry to sadness, and it's like it's just so crazy. It's like if you would have told my past self that we had a game where Jamie Dixon coached a great game, I would have told you we won 100 times out of 100, and that it's just sadly got taken away from us. But
You know
I'll
that
find a
feeling
way.
that you had right there where you watch a game really late at night, everyone else is watching it, and then you lose in a heartbreaking fashion. And then you see all of these horrible things on Twitter and they just hurt you. That's what it's like being like a Los Angeles Chargers football fan. And you like to poke the bear whenever I'm in that same position. And it's a very similar situation that you are in, very comparable. So that feeling where
No,
I'm
no,
sitting
no,
there,
no.
I'm
The
sitting on, I'm
Chargers.
sitting on I'm legitimately, I'm like, okay, I'm
No,
sitting
no,
on the
no.
floor of my living room for the next hour and I can't go to sleep. That's the feeling.
No, 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 no. See, the Chargers do it to themselves. It's because of their performance and what they do at the end of games is what's cost them. We did not cost ourselves that game. It got unfairly robbed from us. So it wasn't a lack of performance on our end. It was more the horrible officiating, which kind of reared its head in the UNC Baylor game too. Like I know their coaches were calling for those refs not to move on because like Brady Manick probably should not have been ejected for something that soft, like so. But
Mm-hmm.
it just hurts. It's one of those you hate to be the guy that complains about the refs, but it's like the one identifiable moment that you can like really point to, and it's like this turned the game, and it just I don't know how I'm gonna cope with this one. I'm tired of TCU just getting robbed. It's not a fun fandom anymore. So
Oh man, he's in still the first stage of denial of grief, and oh my gosh, that's a bummer, Blake. But you'll get through it. You'll move on through the stages of grief, past denial, after in the next couple of days.
it's truly the hope that kills you. If you ever get happy about your team, don't, because that means they're just about to rip your heart out. Just always be a cynic. Always be a cynic. That's what
Oh
I'm
my
doing about
God.
TCU baseball this year. I can't go through a TCU baseball season and us lose to Dallas Baptist again in our own regional. I can't do that again. Like I can't go through that heartbreak of losing to some school of like 500 kids. Like I can't. So
Yeah.
just be a cynic.
Before I make
blown
you
out.
before I like kill your whole ego of sports fandom anymore, let's cut this off. It was a good pod. It was fun. Congratulations to Bobby once again. He's off this week because he is on his honeymoon. So congratulations to him and his wedding. But it was a lot of fun hosting this Schooner pod and talking about some basketball. We'll be back next week, talking a little bit more March Madness. See if there's any new OU news coming up. Obviously, people are looking for OU football news. This is so slow. It is miserably slow. I don't even know what to talk about. But we'll get some spring game knowledge coming in here in about a month in April. But while we have you, we're going to talk about some basketball. So, Blake, appreciate you coming on. And everyone, remember, use promo code TPPN on DraftKings if you're ever trying to make some bets or use some fantasy matchups. And everyone, have fun watching March Madness this coming week.